everybody, and welcome to the VO Dojo's International Voiceover Panel Discussion. I'm Tish Hicks. I'm the Master Sensei of the VO Dojo here in Burbank, California. And we are joined today by an amazing, wonderful panel of voiceover professionals, colleagues, literally from around the world. We've been blessed to have, I think, someone from each continent here today, which was part of our vision. And if you've been following this month, it's International Voiceover Month at the dojo. So we started the month with our free weekly, free monthly question and answer session, Ask the Sensei, with our sensei Catherine Campion and her VO partner Sean Gray. Catherine's based in Minneapolis, works internationally. Sean's based in Bali. We had an event with Apogee Microphones the following week about taking your recording wherever you go. Last week, Catherine and Sean did a more in-depth exploration with our VO Dojo Go guide. Basically, our version of Actor Studio meets a tasty video in terms of alumni or parts of the dojo coming to share their expertise and giving you a succinct overview of how to get started, how to go on different genres. And we are blessed to finish up with this amazing international panel. I want to introduce our team, and then I'll introduce our guests. And while we're introducing ourselves, we would love to have each of you say where you are joining us from, where around the world. And if you're a dojo member, can you mark that and let people know who, if you have any questions about what's going on with the dojo. We will start. I also want to introduce our team. Sorry. So we're joined here by Kat Campion, one of our sensei team. Joshua Edwards is our COO, and he will be maestroing the Zoom interactions here. Diana Suko is part of the amazing dojo team, as well as Jeffrey Gilbank. So they're all here in the background in the chat if you need anything, if you have any questions about anything or need any support. That's what we're here for. All right, so let's introduce this amazing panel. We're joined by Ahmed. I almost did it. Alquotb, right? No. I blew it. My American showing. Ahmed Alquotb.
Alquotb.
Almost. He is here from the Arabic Voice. He's based in Cairo. One of my favorite dojo memories is teaching a class virtually before we had to do everything virtually with Ahmed and the amazing community in Cairo. Let's see, from South America, we are joined by Silvana Lombardini, who's based in Argentina and also has origins in Uruguay, right? And I probably said that wrong too. So I'll be American. Voiceover talent and from North America, Drita Protopapa is here from MAPA Translations. She's based outside of Boston, right? And Drita has been part of the nth degree program here. From Europe and sort of an exotic part of Europe, Ramesh Mahtani is here from the Canary Islands. So I'm really intrigued to have sort of a European and a Latin American perspective on the Spanish market here. That's a really cool thing. And representing Asia, Yukiko Fujimura is here from Japan in the middle of the night. Thank you, Yukiko. And we are also joined by Kira Gurnee, who's another dojo member, Fight Club member, who spends half time in New Zealand and half time in US. So luckily, She is here in the US, so she's not here in the middle of the night. But welcome, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here. So would love to start by having each of you introduce yourself and give a little brief overview of where you're from, what kind of work you do, where you are and in other places, and a short origin story. How did you get started in voiceover? So I think it's really interesting how everybody gets started on this journey. So who would like to begin? Anyone feel brave? All right, Ramesh.
Okay. Hi. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. It's a real pleasure to be in front of such wonderful people and such a wide array of talent. My journey in this world has been spectacular. And it's been really an anachronism of time, I would say, and geography and history. So I'll make it as short as possible so you don't fall asleep. My family's originally from India, Pakistan. So I didn't really grow up over there. We moved to the Canary Islands when I was a little boy, and I grew up speaking several languages: English, Spanish, Sindhi, and Hindi, of course, and French along the way. So I just had this ability to switch from one language to the other. Then I was sent to boarding school when I was 14. So I sort of picked up the sort of London sort of way of speaking as well, very UK. And then I went to university in America. So, the American sort of accent also comes rather easily to me. And Spanish, of course, which I do a lot of work in. So about, I don't know, 25 years ago, I had my first stint in voiceover when I was living in Barcelona, when a friend of mine dragged me to a studio to do some animation. And that was my real sort of initial, here you go, this is what voiceover is about. And I had no idea what really, that sort of career meant. And even if it was a career, but that was very short-lived until later on when I did a lot of public speaking, which I still do. And I suppose, had this passion for the voice as a communication tool and realized how important it is. And if one develops it and knows how to use it in a natural way, it is a wonderful means of communication. And once I discovered this whole world, I just couldn't get enough of it. And it's been a passion within me, which I've only explored further and further. And the more I know, the more I love it. And the more I realize I have a lot more to learn. And it's just been a phenomenal journey until today. Started briefly in radio, but soon got bored with it and went into voiceover. Created a website, joined different channels and agencies, etc. And now it's a full-time career for me, which I've been able to establish a wonderful home studio, work from home 99.99% of the time. And what else can I say? I think it's just such a wonderful place to be. It's such a great career, and it's open to many people. Not only if you have the right toolkit, but just provided you have the right passion for it. And I think that's what's the undermining sort of element in this whole thing.
Well, and I think that is you totally embody the universal of that. Every successful, everyone that I know that has a sustained successful voiceover career has this heart-centered, yes, passion, love for this work, and you embody that in a way that transcends language. So excellent. Glad to have you here.
Thank you.
And sharing that. Yeah.
Pleasure.
Let's see. Yukiko, would you like to go next?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Yukiko from Japan, and I am a professional voiceover artist as well as a video coach in Japan. And I started my career as an anchor, reporter, announcer on TV about 23 years ago. And after giving birth to my daughter about 12 years ago, I shifted my job to home recording. And I also started working from home internationally, like many countries in the America and Europe. And it was really exciting for me to work with many companies around the world. And I also teach overseas marketing to many Japanese voiceover talents. and I really enjoy my life.
Excellent. Yay. And that's a universal too of how do you sculpt the life that you want. And I love the perspective of this panel, because what is overseas marketing? There really is no overseas market. Like wherever you are, you can be part of marketing around the world. So it's interesting. What's the definition of overseas now? It's with different perspectives. Excellent. So glad you are here.
Thank you.
Ahmed, would you like to go next?
Sure. Thank you for having me in this through this wonderful panel. I'm very excited indeed. Well, my real name is Ahmed Alquotb in Arabic language. I know it's challenging to pronounce such word. I was born in Egypt and raised for several years of my childhood in Saudi Arabia in Gulf region. And this allowed me to get in touch and in interaction with several Arab cultures and Middle Eastern, let's say, environments. I got familiar when I was a little child with different local dialects, in addition to pure standard Arabic, because the time of my childhood and raising and growth until the age of youth and young manhood, I was listening. I was always listening and interacting in standard Arabic rather than my local Egyptian dialects. That's why when I got older, I became let's say I discovered that I have some significant skill in this particular uh, part of the way of communicating with people in a global language and widely understood way. So actually, my career was very diverse. I have some kind of accumulated experience gained through the past 2 decades, starting from working as a systems engineer, then a graphic designer, and into yes, I had 3 career shifts, then into media and TV host, and finally into voice acting since 2010 as a dedicated voice actor in standard Arabic language. At that time, when I discovered for the first time how badly the world is needing voice actors who can record in standard Arabic, neutral standard Arabic, to reach out to the 400 millions people who are speaking in Arabic language. Then I used my accumulated experience and technical background and media to create a new platform to act as a production house as well as a casting agency in a time that particular kind of profession was not very well known in the Arab world, and especially in Egypt. The 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 um, the, the idea of working or acting as a dedicated voice actor or voice artist and working internationally throughout the world market and communicating with clients overseas, providing auditions remotely, it was totally new. It was a new invention in the market. And I can claim that I was one of those who started this path at the very beginning. And bless you. And when the market was very fertile and primitive in the Arab region.
So pioneer in anchoring voice work locally, and then thereby globally, opening
Actually,
up.
my vision when I established the Arabic Voice Studios in Cairo, my vision was becoming the world anchor of Arabic voiceover in the whole, in any region that needs to communicate
Brilliant.
with Arab markets. And being in the very middle region of the world helped us as voice actors and voice professionals, because we are in the middle of the communication between the East and the West, and we are a huge market with a huge reserve of finance and money. Lack of technologies. This is a fact that we should admit. So we are providing the world with a huge demand on goods and services, and the whole world, from Japan to the United States, are in need to talk in Arabic somehow. So here comes the role of localization industry and voice actors in the Arab world. So that's
Excellent.
it.
That's just the beginning. Excellent. Let's see, Drita, let's have you share. You've an interest. If I remember correctly, one of your base languages is Portuguese, right? Is that correct?
Yes and no. So sorry, it's very scratchy today because there's allergy season here in Massachusetts. So if anybody suffers from pollen allergies, you know what I'm talking about. It comes and goes. So forgive my voice today. But so I grew up a lot like Ramesh in a way. I had a very international household. So my dad was from Albania and my mom was from Estonia, and they each spoke 4 languages, and the only language they had in common was English. So at home we spoke English, but I heard multiple other languages growing up. And then I live in a very tiny town outside of Boston, so it's very, provincial, but they offered language. And when I had a chance, I learned Spanish first, and then I learned Portuguese in Brazil.
Okay.
So I added them as second and third languages, but it really, probably like, again, a lot like Ramesh, I feel like we're twins in a way. That language comes easy to me. And so when I speak Portuguese, people are like, oh, where are you from in Brazil? And when I speak Spanish, they're like, we can't quite pinpoint where you're from, and I have to tell my story. So
Priscilla was just saying, I could have sworn she was from Brazil.
I know, that's what I'm like. People are like, and even in like for Brazilian Portuguese, they're like, are you from Sao Paulo, the South? And then I sound like a little like I'm from Rio, and nobody can pinpoint it. And then I look like I could be from just about anywhere in the world, right? Except maybe like Sweden. So yeah, I started out, very funny story, that I was doing a lot of on-camera work. I was living in Houston, Texas at the time, and I was working with an agency, and I had a full-time job in the medical center. And one of my friends, who was actually one of my former professors, one day was like, hey, I'm going to be spending some time abroad in Chile, and the agency was asking me if I could recommend anybody that could do Portuguese voiceover, female, and she said, I thought of you, and I told them you could do it. And my response was, what is voiceover? So I clearly had no idea. And then the funny part of that story is that my very first audition was for NASA. And it was for the International Space Station video that they were going to be sending over to Brazil. What are the chances, right? So I go in an audition and I got the gig. And I drive down from Houston to NASA. And this is a great story because this was like 1999. And I get to NASA and I was so surprised. The audio engineer was a woman, because back in those days, you guys know, like you must know that like it was not a women's profession. Audio engineering was predominantly male, and video production and all that. And so I walked in and I think she was psyched to see me. I was psyched to see her. And then she says to me, Drita, so, I don't know a word of Portuguese, so you're going to have to help me edit the audio and then lay it down over the video. My first voiceover gig, right? I have no idea what she just said. I know the words in English, but I'm like, oh yeah, sure, I can help you do that. No idea. So I sat after the session and literally we sat side by side and I helped her lay the audio down over the video. And I did it. I didn't really know what it was called or what all the things meant, but she had to match it up, right? So I sat there and did it. So that my first experience is unusual, highly unusual. But I feel like that just kind of goes with my life. It's my life is unusual, I think.
And you have, it sounds amazing and fascinating. And you have your own voiceover career, and then you also have MAPA translations.
Yes.
Can
right.
you
So
write about
I
that?
have sort of a dual life in that I'm a full-fledged voice actor. I work in English, North American English and Portuguese and Spanish, but I also own and founded a translation agency. And we also have a voiceover division within that. And some of you are part of that and may know about it. We sort of saw that many of our clients who needed like script translations and things like that, we started realizing, well, you know, we can help them not just translate the scripts, but also cast the actors. And it sort of first started out that, you know, like they liked my voice, but they're like, oh, we really need a male Portuguese speaker. And then, Drita, can you help us find somebody? And then that just developed into a bigger and bigger role to where I actually do a lot of casting for the projects for our existing translation clients. And it's really, it's just been a, you know, sort of a natural and organic way that the company and the agency has grown, and it made a lot of sense. And so I basically oversee that part of the agency at this point. And so whenever we have projects that are multifaceted, that include translation and casting and voiceover with multiple languages, I'm the one that typically manages those projects. So it's super exciting. And, you know, I can tell you guys more later, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm intrigued because as I've gotten to connect with each of you, I was talking to Yukiko, and she was saying, well, you could get a job in Japan and then have a translator working with you. And I was like, oh yeah, you could. Okay. So my imagination is going like, ooh, how can we all be working together?
All the connections. Yep.
Well, let's talk to Silvana and then Kira, and then we'll we've got some great questions lined up for the panel, and then we'll open it up for your questions as well. So Silvana, could you also, it's like, what a fascinating crew. You also have a really powerful origin story. Tell us a little bit about
Yes. Hello, everybody. First of all, I want to say thank you, Tish, for this invitation. This is great. I love to be here with this amazing panel, with these great colleagues and all the audience. I love to be connected with my colleagues, so this is really wonderful for me. I've been a voiceover artist for more than 30 years now. I was born in Uruguay. I don't know if you know Uruguay. It's a little country between Argentina and Brazil, which are very big. And well, I started there my career in 1989. But before, since I can remember, I had this passion of working with my voice, my emotions, not only as a voiceover, but as an actress and a singer, which I did and I do. But well, when I was in my early 20s, I remember telling to my mother that please help me to pay my voiceover studies, because I know I'm going to be great at this. I was like with such a confidence, and well, I studied a lot. Once I told you, Tish, that I'm like a serial student. So I think that everything that we can train and study is connected with our profession, and it makes our profession richer. Is that an expression? More rich. So well, thanks to I love languages also, and I started learning English since I was 4 years old in an English school. So the English language helped me to start professionally in voiceover, because I was booked by a radio station. That was my first professional job, that only airs English music. So they needed a voice not only that was trained, but that know how to pronounce the artist and the songs. And well, they booked me, and I started there. I spent there 4 years, and was like wonderful for me. And well, then in 2006, I moved to Argentina, where I live now in Buenos Aires. And what I want to say is that I'm a kind of an investigator. I love learning and looking for things, and I did nearly all I worked in nearly all the areas of the entertainment industry in my country. So not only as a voiceover, but as an editor, as a VJ, lots of things I did, because I wanted to know what was like to be in the other side, on the other side. So, well, I decided to come to Argentina, because I want to explore more in this career, but it was not so easy. although we speak like in the same language. I mean, it's not Spanish, but the accent is the same. But here in Argentina, a license is needed to work as a voiceover. So I'm telling you this because that was when I started to work for other countries in the world, because I couldn't work in Argentina until I had a license. So I started to work with other countries because I said, well, what is my difference? I know English and I can communicate with other persons, with clients that need Spanish speaking voices. So that's when I started with my home studio and to working with different countries around the world. And well, I'm still here, and I live in Buenos Aires, and I still work for every country. So that's nearly all about me. And thank you for listening.
One of the other things that you shared when we spoke, Silvana, is that you have a background in therapy too, right? That you
Yes.
So you know, here at the dojo, a lot of the foundation of what we talk about is that the internal training is equally as important as the external training. So it's a whole nother aspect of your work that you bring, and it ties in with everything you just shared of inquiry and curiosity and understanding different points of view. So that's
yes, I didn't want to be too long, but yes, I'm a person-centered approach counselor for humanistic psychology, and I'm also a vocal coach. I've been doing this for long ago, so that training, that profession also as a counselor helped me in as a vocal coach too. So, well, is that yes, curiosity and everything is super connected and makes us richer, as I said before. Thank you for bringing that, Tish.
Excellent. Excellent. And if we needed to be stuck on an island, I think this would be a good crew to be together.
Yeah.
And Kira,
Sure.
thank you, Silvana. Kira, introduce yourself, and we will get to some general questions and then take your specific questions to everybody, because we want to hear your voices as well. Kira, thank you so much. You just jumped right in. So great to have you.
Hi, I'm Kira Gurnee, and I actually split my time between the States and the North Island of New Zealand in an area called Hawke's Bay, which, if any of you are Art Deco, sort of vintage people, they do a humongous Art Deco celebration every year in February, all 20s, 30s, hundreds of cars from that area. Everybody dresses up. It's a lot of fun. But I actually got my start in voiceover because I was on camera. I started off on stage when I was about 2 doing song and dance routines. My mother was a dance instructor, so I had no choice. But I'm very grateful for that now, as she told me I would be. And singing and all that obviously helps in VO, you know, we talked about that. But I think the best acting training for on camera that you can possibly have is voiceover acting training, because you really get into the script, you really analyze it. You know, you don't have the benefit of visual. So I just, you know, love that part of the business. It's fantastic. I too kind of had a little bit of a multicultural family growing up, so that helps, because part of the work I do is in UK accent, part is in US accent, a little bit now is in Kiwi accent, a little is in Aussie accent. Half my family is from England, so living in the BVI, and I would go there and visit, and I lived in the islands myself for a while before I came back to the States and back to modernity and the future, before the internet was so big. But the reason I'm in the position I'm in now is because I met online my husband, who's a Kiwi. And funny thing, being a voiceover person, you would think we would be better at understanding people. The first few times we spoke on the phone, I was a good 3 sentences behind him because of his accent, because it was so thick and I could not quite make out exactly what he was saying half the time. So I was just until I'd sort of catch up. But now, you know, 10 years down the line, it's much easier, of course. And I've wrapped myself into the culture so much that it's kind of second nature at this point, which, you know, happens when you're immersed in something, and is quite helpful. And it's been a really interesting experience to get to know how Kiwis think, from a marketing perspective, from just a personal cultural perspective. It's quite a bit different than in the States. And there's a lot of things that if you don't get the little cultural idioms and expressions and things, the meaning is completely different from what you think it might be. So that's a good thing to know.
Yeah, well, I think that's one of the exciting things to have everybody's perspectives, like just go like, what would be the one thing. So this is fantastic.
Yeah.
And Kira, you also mentioned that in addition to US, UK, that you do a lot of work with India too, which I think is interesting as well, since so much business is coming out of India as well. So that's, and then Ramesh, you speak in Indian, the dialects, so or the languages. So this is great. Well, Avengers Assemble. Let's ask some questions. Thank you all. So in terms of like lifting off of these where Kira just went, like what's different, how in a nutshell, in a brief description or your experience of it, which one must distinguish, right? Because each of us has our own way that we navigate and find our place in voiceover, right? Depending on what we're doing and how we're doing it. But how does VO work in your country? I mean, do you have representation? If you do, how is it the same or different from your, what is your, how it works in America and the US might be different than how it works in your market or your region? Do you work mostly directly with clients? And then how do you work internationally? So how would you say you, in a nutshell, how things work in your country or your region? Or how do you approach working internationally?
Should I go first?
Sure.
Okay. That's in today's world, as we started off the discussion at some point, when you say your market, really the market is the whole world. Anybody who has a particular market perhaps has a rather short vision, or is just starting out perhaps, because it really is. I mean, the internet, let's face it, has made the whole world into your market if you want to tap into its fullest potential. So in my case, where's the money coming from? The money's coming from North America. The money's coming from Europe. India is a bone of contention, Kira, and that's another subject we can touch. But you'd imagine places like the Far East. I don't get much work there. Basically, I think it's America and Europe, and within Europe you have the UK. We're talking about English, so those are the places which are going to give you your money. Spain, for me, grew organically because people started to know me as the English voiceover. I don't do much work in Spanish for Spanish companies because they pay rubbish rates in Spanish and let the Spanish people, who have no other choice, take those rates. So I do Spanish for non-Spanish clients, people in Germany and UK and America that can speak to me in English and tell me what they want in Spanish. So I kind of have been able to pick and choose where I want to go and what direction I want to take my career towards. So defining a particular market, I think, is an ambiguous term. It's, you basically want to, chase the dollar, chase where the money is coming from. And I don't know if I'm answering your question really, or am I sort of going?
I think it is, and actually, it's a really important distinction, and why we gathered this group, because I think
before jumping into the rates question, Spain, for example, is notoriously bad as far as rates are concerned. They don't pay very high rates. They're probably one of the lowest in Europe. And Spanish voiceovers are struggling to make a living out of being just pure voiceovers, unless you're the creme de la creme, which, you know, the top 3 or 4% that have regular work. And again, that's a bit of a cartel, you know, the same 25, 30 voices are the ones that are doing all the work. But the rest of the voiceovers, the voice talent, are making, you know, 150 euros or 175 euros for your typical explainer video, your corporate television ads for a national television campaign. They've got this archaic chart that goes back to Franco's times nearly, and it pays 625 euros for a 30-second television spot, regardless. So, you know, you're dealing with very low rates there. So I really feel for my Spanish colleagues, because I hear their sob stories. And when a Spanish client contacts me, they say, "You mean you're charging me 300 euros for a 1-minute script?" I'm like, "Yes, it's in English. It's, you know, I'm professional. This is what I do. But, you know, and for Spanish, I pay 150. I'm like, "Well, that's just the way it goes, you know." So it's a tricky situation. It depends how you want to focus your work and where you want to go. I suppose if you're starting out, you take whatever you can get and build up gradually to where you can actually pick and choose the best clients or the ones that suit what you're looking for.
Yeah. Anyone else want to address the question? Who'd like to talk next? Drita.
Yeah, no, I think it's a tough question, because, you know, we all come into it so differently, and we're all in different places. But at least what I see in the US and what I've seen is, you know, there are many ways to get into voiceover, and there are many ways to dice it and make it work for yourself, right? So for me, because of the fact that I have sort of 2 businesses and 2 careers, it may be not the typical, you know, for everybody else here. But what I do see is, much like what Ramesh said, is that most of our clients, you know, for translation and also for voiceover, are based in the US or North America and Europe. Those are the 2 main places. And when I do work for India, it's through the UK. So it's sort of an interesting, you know, sideline. Like, you kind of like, you work with the people, for me at least, I have to work with people that I know I can trust and that are going to pay us, right? So in many cases, especially as an agency owner, I'm subcontracting with other people. In fact, a couple of my translators are here on this panel today. I see them. So they know, you know, I have to pay them. So we have to make sure that we work with people who are reliable and legitimate and that are not going to stiff us, you know. And so I do get a little bit nervous when I see jobs or, you know, people contact us that are from places that I've never worked with before, because I don't necessarily know how they do business. And so I think one of the things I see this in translation, and I see this in voiceover as well. It's a very friendly and collegial group in general. It's not like Kira knows from doing on camera, and I think probably Silvana too, like being on camera, there's a very cutthroat kind of whole thing that goes along with that. But I feel like with voiceover, we don't have that same kind of competition and that same kind of attitude. And the same thing with translators. We're very much about sharing and about, you know, when I say sharing, I mean like sharing experiences and sharing knowledge about different companies or agencies. And so that's something that I think I would say for anybody coming into the business or who's new to it, you know, don't be afraid to ask one of us that's been around for 10, 20 plus years doing this. We kind of know who the bad guys are, right? And who to stay away from and what the red flags are. So I think that's something that you just, you know, you build up over time in terms of like knowing how to spot things that just aren't legit, right?
And I think that it's really interesting too. I think everybody, wherever you are, how do you find community wherever you are, and then how do you start building like this international community, so we all know somebody somewhere that we can ask and be supporting each other all over the place. What else would you share about how things work from your perspective, from your perspective, in how you approach it? Ahmed, it seems like wait, we got hands. Let's go, Yukiko.
Okay. I mainly work in Japan and international as well. And when I do voiceover job in Japan, I do Japanese voiceover job from production companies and casting agency. And I also do English voiceover job in Japan as well. because even if I cannot speak English properly, they still ask me to do the English voiceover job, because especially where I live it is centered the northern part of Japan. There is almost no native English speakers, and they don't know how to connect with English voiceover artists. And sometimes when they ask me to do the English video job, I suggest them to use native English speakers, but they said they are afraid of communicating in English. So even if I do the job in English, the rate is about $500 per minute, and that is not bad for me. But if you can speak native English, maybe you have more opportunity and the rate is much better. So, but the problem is that many production companies or casting agency in Japan does not have English website. So sometimes it is hard to approach to the companies in Japan, but I will later show you how to connect and how to search the English companies, Japanese production companies by web. And I also work internationally, and I connect with production company and casting agency by LinkedIn mainly. And sometimes I use P2P site like Voices or Voice123 or Voice Bunny. And after I connect people in other countries by LinkedIn, they ask me to register in their roster. And that is my way to get the job internationally.
Excellent, excellent. And I think after let's hear from our other panelists briefly, and then let's open it up to some questions. You guys have been listening for a while. We'd love to hear your voices. And then Yukiko, let's make sure that we have a second before we go to have you share what you wanted to share with everybody. Ahmed, did you want to share a little bit? And then Silvana.
First of all, allow me to add something to what Yukiko said about the Japanese market. I would like to say, as a foreigner, that the Japanese market is one of the challenging markets, because Japanese clients are not used to interact with any foreign language. So it's very challenging to penetrate that market if you don't speak Japanese. And you could have a very good opportunity in the Japanese market, in the inside market of Japan, if you speak Japanese and if you can interact in Japanese language. That's why I decided to establish a totally new website of the Arabic Voice in Japanese language in 2020. Yes, that's why maybe Yukiko had a very good experience with English voiceover inside Japan, even if her English was not that excellent. And yes, foreign voices could have a very good opportunity in Japan if they could approach the market there in appropriate way. As for Arabian or Arabic speaking markets and Egypt, I have to tell you that I have been seeking voiceover jobs and establishing a voiceover career between 2005 and 2010, and I could not, through these 5 years, find any demand or request for a voiceover job in standard Arabic, just because voiceover industry in Egypt and Arab world was just limited to ad agencies, production companies who are producing documentaries and short films. There was no the digital revolution of explainer videos and simulators and tutorials and so on that didn't take place at these times in Egypt and Arab world. I had the tools and the confidence that I am a good voiceover artist in standard Arabic language, while no opportunities right there. Until 2010, when I got a request through voices.com from a studio in Paris, and they were in a panic because they were recording a voiceover script for a chain of restaurants in France called Le Duff, and they needed it in standard Arabic. The voice artist who did the job was rejected, unfortunately, and they was approaching their deadline, and I was surprised. Back then, I was a TV reporter, in an English TV reporter, ironically, for Kuwait TV. And I was surprised that I'm getting a call on my phone from France. They need to record tomorrow at 10 GMT, and they need to deliver the material at that particular time, and they have no time. And the engineer, she was an Algerian French from Paris. She was in a real panic, and she was not really sure if I can do it on time. For me, the job was not a challenge indeed. I went to a studio, a friend of me, next day, and recorded the material, sent it back to the studio, and it was accepted. That was my first ever job to deliver to a client overseas outside Egypt. And at this particular moment, back in November 2010, I could sense how vital is the need throughout the globe for Arabic voiceover in a standard pure form. So I started thinking about establishing a new talent base, not just an agency, and an anchor for the world to provide voiceover in Arabic language. Uh, um, at this particular time, I didn't know anything. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Mhm.
I didn't know anything about audio engineering, about audio recording. I was suffering through more than 4 months, which passed by the Egyptian Revolution in January 2011, and cut off a total cut off of the internet until March 2011, until I got back and started getting my email again, and started trying to record, trying to fix my cables, trying to find out how can I record a sound of human voice digitally until I have established my first ever recording platform in April 2011, and started getting and booking jobs. Despite that, my recording quality was not that competitive back at these times. However, I think I could establish a very good team, a prominent team of Arabic voice artists throughout the past 10 years. Now, the IVR system of Apple Incorporation in the Arab world is recorded with my own voice. The onboard instructions of BMW cars in Arabic was recorded with my own voice. I was the voiceover coach for Amazon to record their TTS assistant project in Beirut. The last version of Shadow of the Tomb Raider for the Xbox and PlayStation was produced in Arabic in my studios here in Cairo. And I was the casting director of the Arabic version.
What I'm hearing, Ahmed, is that you became the resource. You had the experience of knowing that you are a resource, but not having the way to get it to the world. So you built something that have become the resource, not only for yourself, but for everybody on both sides of the glass that needs Arabic voices, which is brilliant. Yeah.
Yes, I can say it.
Yeah.
So
I just want to make sure we get Silvana and Kira and have time to open up
yes,
to
sure.
other questions as well. And I'm really intrigued. There's a question on the board, and if people want to start writing their questions in as well, we can start taking them. Yeah, Silvana and Kira, real quick, what's your perspective on this first question of how you work internationally and how you found it to work for you? We can keep it fairly tight. We can open up to all the questions.
Do you want to go, Kira or Kyra? Okay. Regarding exactly the question, in Uruguay or Argentina, we are not used to agents or to have rosters. we had the association, the Voiceover Uruguayan Association, which I am a co-founder, and there we have all the associates' voices, but we don't use like agents. This is some agents are something great. I feel now I'm just focused on having an agent in the USA, for example, but it's not so easy. But what I want to tell is that when I started, it was so different than now that we have social media and that we can connect each other and things appear, not only because we are looking for things, for jobs, but because we start to be connected and someone reminds about us and they say, well, hi, Silvana can do this. So that's great about social media. And my shock was when I changed from Uruguay to Argentina, because in Uruguay everybody knew me and they said just call Silvana. But in Argentina, I came here when I had 40, so I was big and nobody knew me from the beginning. So I had to start all over again, and that is very difficult. And well, I did. And now there are also those not very, they had no well press like the pay to play sites, but there are some, there's a resource there. And but I think that the best thing we can do is investigate and look for the things and exchange with our colleagues.
Excellent, excellent. And Kira, anything to you work in a lot of different ways, and you understand the American market and other markets too.
Yeah,
as part of the international perspective. Yeah.
I think what Ramesh was saying actually about how speaking in English language is more useful when you're marketing yourself to a foreign country where it's not their home language. That rings true actually in New Zealand as well. There is actually an agency here, I'm saying here as if I'm there right now, called Big Mouth Voices, and they have actors from all over the planet, all to hopefully get work in New Zealand. And they do hire American voices and UK voices and, you know, different things, although typically 90% of the work will be Kiwi accent. I've been fortunate enough to start doing some of that now, which is great. But even if you don't, you know, there is a market there for it. The pay rates, not going to be what we're used to in the US. It's probably not even going to be quite what you're used to maybe in England, that part of the UK. It's a bit lower, but it can be fun. You can get repeat work. You know, and there's not that many people doing American voices there. There's quite a few doing UK, you know, like British RP voice. But it's not just based around agencies there either. A lot of my work has come through just personal relationships with production houses, and even a music producer that I happen to know who just had a studio when I was first there and looking for a space to record in case somebody needed, you know, Source Connect, and I didn't have it set up at the time at my own home studio. We made a connection and I wound up getting my first national job down there that way. So there's a lot to be said for, like Yukiko was saying, LinkedIn, great resource, fantastic. And you can make those connections and then get on their roster and, you know, get that personal relationship going. And that's key. If you want to work in New Zealand and Australia, the personal relationship is key in any business, not just voiceover. They are much more likely to hire somebody that they've known for a while and they trust and they like over somebody that might be much more qualified, but they don't know. So there is that dynamic to kind of know about and deal with.
and the other thing that I'm hearing as a recurring theme of everyone, how do you bring your excellence and professionalism to be able to deliver wherever you are?
Right.
That you're part of any effort around the world, that just taking it up a notch. Excellent. Well, let's open it up to some questions. Janet, do you want to hop on and ask your question? Janet is a Dojo member here. She's coming back to the Broadway Phantom, the Phantom of the Opera Broadway cast soon. Yay!
Can you
yeah,
hear me?
Yeah, this is a great
Okay.
question, Janet.
Hi, so nice to meet all of you, and thank you so much for being here from all over the world. So exciting. I am new in voiceover. I've had a long career in musical theater all over the Europe and United States, and I'm currently in the Phantom of the Opera, which will open in October. But I wanted to think about switching into voice matching, which really excites me. Doing the voices of celebrities, and I'm only beginning in this, but I wanted to hear your experience working internationally, if you have any, in that area.
Yeah. It's
Or
kind of
just
interesting
anything
because
more.
if you think about it, you know, Silvana, you were talking about you work in all of the realms, right? When we were talking last week on the Go Guide, we just put up the entire map of everywhere you can be making money, and every place is going to need some version of that. So you could totally be the voice of a Disney character or a Pixar character in another language, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. Hi, Janet. I'm absolute fan of Broadway musicals, so it's wonderful to hear that they're opening. I'm already thinking of going to Broadway soon.
Yes, great.
Well, I think that you're speaking about dubbing.
Okay.
Is that correct? You're speaking about dubbing, so
Yeah.
voicing.
Yeah. Have you had experience of a company saying, oh, we want to hear the voice of Sarah Jessica Parker or Scarlett Johansson or any celebrities in India or wherever in your country? Do you have that where you are?
No, the industry here in Argentina and in Mexico, speaking about Latin America, is mostly dubbing. So doing their voices in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
That's the experience here, and there's a huge market in that. But I'm not quite sure about your question because you're talking about the celebrity's voice.
Right.
Yes,
Well, I think
matching.
there's a voice matching is sort of a specific skill set within dubbing or ADR.
I understood. I
Yeah.
understand now.
So
You mean a voice similar from Sarah Jessica Parker's, for example,
Yes,
to do the
just
similar voice?
dubbing.
Yeah.
Yes, it happened. It happened to me last week. They told me that they needed a voice similar to Demi Moore or Emma Stone.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
So you become the Spanish voice of, or you're saying it was
In
not
English.
Oh, in English.
in English. Interesting.
Oh.
Interesting.
Yeah, in English. So
And
it
how?
was a commercial advertisement
Right.
that needed to have a voice similar to Emma Stone or Demi Moore.
Demi Moore.
Okay, so that was sort of a in the tone of, yeah.
And
Yeah,
so,
in the tone of.
and so you
Anyone
had to
else
drop
have?
your accent completely?
Sorry?
You had to drop your accent to do that? Or they
Well, I have my own English accent. I don't know how it sounds for you because I know that I have an accent, although I try to speak as best as I can. But well, I listened to Emma Stone and Demi Moore before, so well, I try to do my best, and sometimes it happens, but it's not so often.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if somebody of you have that experience in their own countries.
How does dubbing or voice matching or ADR work? Is it part of your worlds? Is it part of the work that you do? Anyone else?
I've done a bit of that, but yeah. I was just going to speak to what you were saying, Janet, about voice matching for a celebrity. and you're new in the industry, correct? Is that right? Yeah. A lot of times what you'll see is they say we want a voice like Scarlett Johansson or, you know, Emma Stone or whatever. And they're really just saying we want that feel, the way that they deliver their lines, that chemistry that they have vocally without being an exact match. If they want an exact match, that's like doing an impression, obviously, you know, somebody who can really vocally be exactly on the money. And then I always kind of wonder if, you know, maybe they just didn't want to spend the money for the celebrity and you're just, you know, helping them out there.
Well, that's what I'm trying to pick up on.
The question in this context is, how do you become the voice match for that celebrity? That's
Right.
an interesting thing.
Right.
Were you going to share, Ahmed?
Yeah, I don't see much of that, but yeah.
Well, I have to say that in Arab world and maybe in most Eastern countries, we are always facing such requests or such a need when we are into the localization of some material. Because, for example, when we were working on Shadow of the Tomb Raider, we had the original characters already acted by foreign actors like Carlos Leal and other actors and celebrities. In this case, I was having some approach, considering that for each character, I have to find out an actor, an Arabic actor with a similar anatomy, a similar shape and body, maybe the similar color, in order to make sure we are delivering the same power of voice, the same energy and feeling. So, for example, when we were recording the character of Jonah, he was a Latin American. His body was big. He was tall and wide man, and I could thank God I could get some good actor here. He was an Egyptian, was almost the same characteristics. So the nature of his voice was almost the same, and the power he could provide acting the character was very, very close to the original character and the actor who did it in the original version. And this is how we worked on each of the character when we each of the characters in the game, each of the main characters, when we tried to transform it from the original form, whether it was English or Latin American English, into Arabic language, acted in standard Arabic, however, providing the same feeling and impressions of the original character. In the game. So that was my experience. I just wanted to share it with you.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. And Priscilla, I saw your question of what is the difference between voiceover and dubbing. So voiceover, if you are hired to do the job, and it's your voice that is what is used and presented in the commercial, in the animation, in the whatever the format is, that's one thing. In dubbing is replacing a voice that has already been recorded. And perhaps if there's and this has become really prevalent because Netflix is all over and we're all in our houses now watching everything, right? So you may watch a show that was originally in one language that's been localized, as Ahmed said, the terminology that's been localized so that it's translated and dubbed into the language that you might be listening in. So that's one of the difference. Yeah, Silvana.
Sorry, just one more thing. Now we have also ADR, audio description, which is
audio description. Yeah.
That's another market that's similar but not the same. We have to train also for that because it's very special, and I think that we have to consider this also because it's an opening market.
And that's interesting because it's kind of an emerging thing. I think it's something that has been, but now is becoming more expanded. So if you think about that, every every TV show or movie that has been produced, audio description is descriptions for visually impaired people to know what's going on screen, kind of like closed caption is for hearing impaired people. But this explodes my mind because it's an expanding market here just in English, but then you think, oh, every language needs that realm of the market as well. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's not easy because it's totally the opposite as dubbing. We don't have to show the emotion. We just have to tell what's going on in the
Right.
screen.
Whole another perspective. Yeah. What are the questions you have? We have a question from Mohammed. If you want to come on and ask your question. Mohammed, are you still here? You can unmute yourself and ask your question, or I can ask it for you if you like. We'd love to hear your voice in the room.
He says he can't unmute.
Oh, okay. I will ask Mohammed's question. Is it possible to approach agents for Arabic jobs in the US and UK?
Is this question for me?
I would say you probably know the Arabic market of everyone here probably best. So maybe you can start.
He's asking if he can approach voiceover agents in the US and UK for Arabic jobs. Absolutely, yes, of course. I can tell that I have been booking jobs in US and UK and Western Europe in general more than I have booked jobs in Egypt and Arab world several times since 2010 or 2011 because as I said earlier, the industrial usage of voice implies a huge demand in these regions on voiceover in foreign languages through localization process in some aspects and through digital production and media production process in other aspects. So yes, of course, there is a huge need in the world, not only in the US or the UK, but also in China, in Australia, in South Asia, for Arabic voiceover, and especially for standard Arabic voiceover. So the answer is yes. If this was a question.
Oh, I've been unmuted finally. Sorry for this interruption.
Muhammad.
Yeah. The question is, because I've tried to approach a couple of agents in the United States, and I've tried to search for lists for different agents, and I found the huge lists out there. So I was just overwhelmed with who am I going to contact. And then when I started to contact like a couple of them, some of them didn't even answer, and some of them who answered told me that they're not interested in Arabic speaking voices. So I was just wondering if there is any sort of a guidance or any sort of tip that would help us approach the right agents that would be interested in Arabic speaking talents.
Now this is a very good question.
Go ahead, Ahmed. And then I think Drita, you might have some input on this too, of a thought to share too. But what is your thought of it?
So this is more specific question, and the answer should be more specific as well. You are asking if you can approach agencies in US as an Arabic voice actor. The answer is yes. However, agencies will not have the need for Arabic voiceover unless they were asked by a client, by a localization agency, or by a production house. So if you would like to find out some kind of useful leads in order to book new jobs or to close some new deal, you have to rest on the shore of the interaction, the gateway between the two civilizations and the two cultures. You have to approach localization agencies at first place, because this is the interface between the West and the East, the interface between Arabic and English. Right. If you would like to approach a real potential client, so localization is the major gateway. And yes, you can book jobs through agents, but I cannot guarantee this. This is some kind of you have to approach a large number, like the salespersons who are doing cold calls until you find someone or two who have real need or instant need for Arabic voiceover jobs.
I think I'll just put my thought in, and I'd love to hear, because Drita, you seem like one of those people that would be at the interface. But my thought is, if you know who you are and what you have to offer, how do you approach somebody saying, hey, if you need anybody, how do you become the one person that is like, oh, we need an Arabic voice? I mean, just today, Catherine was like, hey, do we have any African-American French speakers? And I was like, hold on a second, let me think. Oh, we have all of the Black Opera Guild who speak all the languages. Yes, we do. So how can you get known as recognizing may not need this all the time, but when you become that is my Arabic voice guy on my roster when I need it. And then I would think also in terms of who's working in video games where really crazy specific localized accents or voices or languages might be needed. Like, how do you think, like, just where Ahmed said, where does the need meet you being the person? And it also sounds like, from what everyone's saying, that if you can become the English speaker in some place where there's not a lot of English speakers, that's where you become the need. What were you going to say, Drita?
Yeah, no, I think all of what you're saying is true. And from an agency standpoint, as a translation agency that has a voiceover division, I think we're a little unusual. Not all translation agencies have a voiceover division. So in that light, what happens in our case is, for example, we have a client and we have a project, and then they all of a sudden say, hey, we did this in English and now we need it in Dutch, German from Germany, French from Canada, Arabic from Egypt, and Portuguese from Brazil. And we want male talent and female talent, blah, blah, blah. Drita, can you cast it? And so until I have the need, I don't need you. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a weird thing. It's like, all of a sudden I really need you, but until that very moment, you're kind of not on my radar. Not that I don't care, not that I don't love you, but I'm doing something else that is totally taking precedence and is much more critical, important. And then this client goes whoosh in front of me and says, hey, we need this and we need it by this time. And it's never usually that rushed, but then I have to go to our roster and say, who do I already have? Who do I need? Who do I have a partner? Do I have somebody that I can go to, like Ahmed or somebody like that, to say, hey, I need help with this because I don't have 10 Arabic voices that fit the description. And so I think, I hate to kind of say that, but I feel like I'm closed off to you until I really absolutely need you. And the thing is, like, Arabic doesn't come up every day for us for voiceover. What comes up for me every day for voiceover practically is Spanish and English. And then I would say Portuguese, and then I would say maybe Chinese. And then I would say, there's a bunch of other languages that trickle down after that. And so it's not that, like, you're not amazing, or that, the person wouldn't want to bring you on their roster, or they, you might even be perfect for their next job, but they don't have that next job yet. So you're not here in front of them. You're kind of way out, far away. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah. And so then it becomes interesting, like, how do you become the resource? Like, Ahmed is established. What are you going to say, Ramesh?
Yeah, just to I completely agree with what Ahmed and Drita were saying, but just as a perhaps position to launch yourself, whether it's Arabic in your case, Mohammed, or if you speak Italian or you speak Mandarin, just go through the different voiceover agencies and sites and see the languages they offer. And if you see some bespoke languages, some more exotic languages, that's where you want to be. You at least want to be on those rosters. So that's the original work. Hopefully they will, divert you to a form where you can fill out and send in your samples and whatnot. Hopefully they answer your emails. But many of them just say, well, send us your samples and we'll check the audio quality and get back to you. And if your audio quality is up to snuff and you're very good at what you do, hopefully you should get into those rosters. So at least you're there. That's one part of the marketing campaign. campaign. And then as Drita said, it's chance, it's luck. I mean, maybe they're not looking for an Arabic voice in 2 years. So why would they contact you? You're not in their radar. But at least be present in the sites that you can be present in, so that if they do want it, they have you. And often they want 3 or 4 because the client wants to have an audition. So it's not necessarily you're the Arabic go-to voice. They're like, well, we want an Egyptian Arabic voice, and I want 4 samples, please, or 6. So there's also room for a bit more.
I know we often collaborate with Jonathan Tilley, who's an American based in Germany, and his origin story, he said he also happened upon voiceover, like, what is it? But then people were like, yeah, but you have a different quality of American voice. We have like these low voices and you have a higher timbre voice. So you can also think of it, what quality of voice are you bringing in languages?
And can I just piggyback on just that, what you just said right now, which is also very important for anybody who speaks a language. Remember, it's not necessary, if you, for example, speak Mandarin, don't necessarily think your market is China. It's the rest of the world, because there are already thousands of Mandarin speakers in China, but perhaps in Germany and in France, if they need a Mandarin voice, where do they go? So if you're there, present in their sort of radar, you've got a very good chance of booking jobs. So anyone who speaks a language which is not English or Spanish, you have a great chance of getting work outside the country of origin.
Yeah. Here's a question that I have. What about fluency? Like for instance, I had an audition yesterday. My French is pretty darn good. I'm debating whether to send it because the specs said you'll be dealing directly with the client. So I don't want to be like, okay, my French in the audition was good, but if I'm not able to translate in real time fluently, I don't want to be like, when I'm in the session. So what is your experience about that? Like when to say yes and when to go like, oh, that's above my pay grade.
Okay, I'll just jump in really quickly. Yeah. I think if the client is from the native countries, for example, in France or French-speaking Canada, they'll know whether you are the legitimate sort of French speaker. So I think one doesn't have to pretend as if they speak it like a native, because either you're a native or you're not, or you're very, very good at you're bilingual or trilingual, but they will know if you really are the real McCoy. So don't pretend you're not. If you you say, look, I'm not fluent in, I mean, I'm not a native French speaker, but here's my audition. And they may be looking for that. They may be looking for a certain je ne sais quoi in your voice that's not quite French, but we like that. That's what we want. Or they may come around and say, no, we actually want a completely fluent native Parisian or Lyonnaise or somebody from Marseille. And in which case you won't, but you might as well audition and be honest about your capabilities.
Yeah. Good. Let's see. We're coming up to the time that we set out. What if we did just a little? Let's see. I'm just trying to see if there's any other questions. Priscilla asked a general question about education. Priscilla, what I would love, she asked, how do you get started? I think everybody here happened upon voiceover and then diligently explored it. And I think that is what it is. This is what we do at the VO Dojo. So what I would love to do is connect you with Diana and talk about what we do here. But basically, it's like anything else. How do you become a professional piano player? You love it, you explore it, you practice every day, you find the people who can teach you and open your world, and practice every day and love it and do it and explore. So it's a little, it's simple and it's complex, but that is what we specialize in the dojo, of taking from I don't know to working pro. So we would love to talk to you about that in general, and especially as it fits here. What if we did a little popcorn round of like, I'll ask some questions and you guys go, we'll just like what let's do this question. What are the top 3 paying markets that you work in? Like, or if you had to put in order the top 3 paying markets, what would you say? Silvana, what would you say?
Me first. Well, I think that USA is the top paying market.
Mhm.
And then I worked with Holland
Mhm.
very
Mhm.
well and Belgium.
And Belgium, interesting. And I guess we can add what's the lowest playing market that you've experienced.
Well, that's tricky because the thing is that I've here in South America, I don't know, I don't know if this happens in all over the world, but there are lots of people that are trying to book voiceovers for very little
Okay, so
payment.
that's universal. There's
That's
universal people who
universal.
will work for
Okay.
a very low load. Okay, great.
And that's really a problem because we need to be together to stop that, but it happens.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting perspective. Kira, top three.
Okay, I'm in mute. Top three, definitely the States. US is first. UK is not bad most of the time, and Belgium. I've done great work in Belgium, so yeah, we're there too, Silvana. Wow, I mean, Yukiko-san, I would love to do more work in Japan. I speak a tiny bit of Japanese, but I'd love to do English work there, so we need to talk.
Yes.
Hajime mashite, Yukiko-sama. Arigatou gozaimasu. But lowest paying for me, I'd have to say India. I was the voice for the Sony Pix movie channel, their promo voice, and for any other network, you would be talking major dollars, but this was India. But you know what? The experience and the work experience, and it was a blast. It was a great job. It was a lot of fun to do. So there you are.
Yeah. Yukiko, let's segue to you. I know when you were talking about the rates in Japan, I was like, hello.
Yeah.
They sounded
Yeah, my top three industry is Japan, the States, and UK, and sometimes Germany.
Yeah. How about you, Ramesh?
Top paying, I would say Scandinavia, Norway, Sweden, UK, and Germany.
Interesting.
US is high up on the list as well.
Yeah. And Drita?
Yeah, I primarily work with companies based in the US and then in the UK. So those are the two top for me. And I don't really work with low paying because I don't work with low paying. I won't do it.
And in any language, yeah. And Ahmed, how about you?
Well, I can tell you about the most the top three paying markets. It's almost Scandinavia, Germany, and US. However, I have some minor remark to highlight here. The world is divided into about 3 or 4 economical zones. If we consider from Western Europe, Canada, US, and Japan, this is a zone. We have Eastern Europe, Russia. This is another zone. We have China and South Asia, Australia, another zone. We have the Arab world and Africa, a different zone. In Arab world, there is a good market which has some effective demand on professional services in the Gulf region, GCC. However, personally, I have some bad experience in this region, and I'm not being always comfortable working with clients in that region for some cultural reasons. So as I told you earlier, my top 3 preferred markets are US. US is the huge and the most effective market, Germany and Scandinavia. So this is how I see the globe.
Brilliant. That's brilliant. Those frameworks. Yukiko, you said you were going to share something with us. Do you want to? Can we make sure, Joshua, that Yukiko can share her screen real quickly, and we can flash this on, and maybe if you're comfortable sharing it, we can send it as a PDF with the replay, whatever you're comfortable with. But that could be interesting. And now I've got like 6 popcorn questions that I want to ask everybody. Well, Yukiko sharing this. I'd love to.
I will share one screen with you. And when you want to search for a Japanese agency or production company, when you Google Translate the word voiceover, home recording, or voice talent, the Google translation shows you exactly the wrong words that we never use. So that is voiceover and home recording and voice talent is the word you should look for. And when you send me an email, I will send you back the keywords to use so that you can copy and paste. So those are the keywords that you should search for when you want to connect with Japanese agencies.
This is brilliant, and this is great because we'll make sure we'll have everybody. Diana will share in the replay how to keep in touch with everybody and how you can work with everybody. But these are 6 fabulous souls that have insights into markets that you might be able to talk to and are available to obviously whenever you're working with anybody who is offering their expertise, you offered to acknowledge that there's that they may have a rate to work with you, but then you open up the world. So yeah, that's brilliant, Yukiko. And I think the great thing about that is also that's going to apply in every region, every language, every culture. How do you speak of it? Because you can look it up in one way, but it may not be how it is spoken of. So how do you get your mind thinking like that, and to even ask the questions like that and not assume? Yeah. We're right at the top of the hour, or the time that we've committed to. Any closing thing that everyone would like to share, or one thing to know about? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think from our attendees, there must be a lot of people starting out in this career, and we've spoken about some very specific aspects of voiceover. But I would say that one of the biggest things you can do as a person starting out in the first year or two is establish yourself as a brand and establish your real voice. Yeah, of course, it sounds lovely to say, we want a Brad Pitt sounding voice, so we want somebody to sound like, somebody else, but establish your real voice. See where your strengths are. You may discover soon that you perhaps prefer doing documentaries. You have a voice that's very soothing. It's more corporate oriented, or you just prefer to scream, yell, and shout and do animation. But discover where your strengths lie first and foremost, because that's where you'll get most of your work. And that's what you want to focus on. Focus on the core, focus on building your brand, your true voice, what it sounds like without trying to impersonate or do many languages. Get your feet on the ground first. And once you do that, and once you get the ball rolling, then discover and explore. But find your true self, your true nature, your true identity, and market that. So people know that, oh, I'm going to go to this person because I like the sound of their voice. It's consistent. I know what to expect. They're not suddenly changing their cadence, or their prosody is different, or their timbre suddenly goes all weird. Keep to your, and work on that.
You first, then understand what is required to be a working pro in whatever language or whatever context, that whatever genre, whatever form that you're able to show up as a pro, and like everyone said at the beginning, and then just keep on expanding on the possibilities. It's brilliant, excellent. Silvana, what was your closing offering?
Yes, I would like to say that please know that the best thing we can do is connect with our colleagues. Don't think about competition. Please think about exchanging experiences. That's the most important thing. I think here in South America, it's a little lack of that. I found that is wonderful in other countries in Latin America, like Mexico, Colombia. They are great, and it's truly better in the USA or in Europe or in Asia. That's the most important thing. We can't think about competition and not connect with somebody being afraid of someone is going to take out your job. It's not like that. And that's one of the best things I can tell to not only to talents that are starting, but to experience talent too. And the other thing is that it doesn't matter if you have 30, 40 years of experience. It's very important to keep on training always, to discovering something new, to updating yourself. So, well, the VO Dojo is great for that, but that's what I would like to share, because I think is that there are two things that are the best things we can do as professionals, that enlighten us. Enlight is correct. Enlighten us to be better professionals.
Yeah, and I love that, Silvana, because that's a universal principle. Again, you know, that's what it's about. Drita, what was your closing?
Yeah, mine is short and sweet. So as a business owner and someone who has a business hat on good part of my day, I can say that oftentimes with creative professions like acting and voice acting, people don't always think of it as a business. But I want to say that out loud, that it is a business and it should be treated like one. And therefore, you always have to think about that very basic concept in business of people want to work with who they like, who they know, and who they can trust. So if you have too big of an ego, or you think you're the hottest thing since sliced bread, or you're difficult, or you're always late, or you're sloppy, or you're whatever it is, you could, have the best voice in the world. But if you're not easy to work with and you're not professional and you don't take it seriously as a business, I'm telling you, you're not going to make it. It's just not going to happen. So I think
in any language.
in any language, right? So I mean, I think that's my biggest thing, is it is a business, treat it as such, and you have to put in the hard work, the long hours, to get, like, all these guys here, they didn't get where they are because they just took it as a hobby, or it's my little passion I do on the weekend. It's not what voice acting is all about. It's really, it is a business. It's the business of voice acting.
But working hard doesn't have to be hard. It's not easy, but it doesn't have to be difficult, because you find the joy in it, and and then it's not work. It is work. Yeah. Ahmed, what would your closing statement be?
Now I want to show you something here in my studio. I have 3 clocks.
Yeah.
The ones in the hotels. And why did I show you this? Because I would like to say you have to be responsive. You have to prove reliability. You have to act as if this overseas client is standing in front of you, because he don't know you really. He didn't see you before. He has to feel that you are acting as if you are standing in front of him. When he sends an email, he gets a response. When he asks question, he gets an answer. And I am putting these clocks in order to have true perception of time zones of all 3 major regions. So when I'm in contact with someone in Japan or in China, I know where he is now. Is it late night or in the morning or on midday? When I'm interacting with someone in Hollywood, in New York, and so on, I can imagine when in which time he is now through the business day. So this is a vital factor of success for international voice actor and agents. In order to you were asking about how to become the one choice of some particular language. When we are seeking an Arabic voice or an Urdu voice, we have this guy or we have that agency in our roster. This is I consider that this is the key factor, establishing responsiveness and concrete reliability.
That is absolutely brilliant. It applies to all things, but then has this added layer of putting yourself in context. And Yukiko, you are. Let's go to you next, because you're here, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed in the. Do you have to roll, Ramesh?
I have to go. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ramesh. Thank you for being here, and we will have how to keep in touch with everybody here. Thank you. We'll be finished in just 1 second, and then if you'd like to stay on and come into a breakout room, we'll be hanging out. And if you do need to roll, we are a little bit over our time. You'll be getting the replay. Thank you for being here. But Yukiko, you are here. It's the middle of the night. It's you're present. You're active. Like it's that you're just here. So you embody.
It's only 3:30 in the morning. It's okay. Well, when you want to get a job in the international market or in Japan, it looks like it's very difficult and challenging, but that means that many people give up. So that means you have a good opportunity. So there's always a way to expand your business as a voiceover artist. So I'd like to say that be brave to get into voiceover industry in the international market and keep trying.
Yes. Oh, that's brilliant. Absolutely great. Yes. Kira, what would your parting comments be?
I would go to know the culture you're applying to. You know, do a little research, take a few minutes, go on LinkedIn or go on Facebook, you know, make a few friends online, get into some conversations with people from the market that you want to be working in, if it's not your own market, and understand some of those idioms and those expressions. One good example of that is in the States, we use the term precious. Oh, what a precious little baby, oh, you know, and it's a good thing, it's a positive thing. Not so much in New Zealand. It's actually the opposite. It means somebody thinks they're a little too good for you. So that's an important distinction if you're using it in a voiceover, to know that it changes the meaning. So understand that, understand their work ethic, and try and mirror that, obviously. A little bit of small talk first, which is something that I personally struggle with because I tend to be sort of all business focused minded, you know, so I have to remind myself a little small talk, a little pleasantries, and then get into it without wasting the entire hour or whatever. And then be friendly, but also make sure you get all the details, and make sure you get those sorted and you know what they expect from you contractually, if there's any finance thing that you need to know that's different, if it's going to be a PayPal, if it's going to be, you know, Venmo, if it's going to be a bank transfer. And by the way, other than in the US, it's pretty common for people to give their bank details and it's just a direct bank transfer. So for some reason in the States, we're not used to that, so we're not comfortable.
Like, oh gosh, someone's scamming us. Yeah.
So know that it's not a scam. That is very, very, very common. And then just put yourself out there, you know, be professional, have fun, play.
I love that. I love that today, having all these different perspectives has really allowed us to open our understanding of wherever we are, either just starting in all of the voiceover the world or having built a voiceover business in one specific area or region or you know, place, to just expand it. Why not work with everyone? It's great. In terms of a lot of the things that Kira's been just touched on, if you didn't catch the VO Dojo Go Guide with Sensei Catherine and her VO partner Sean Gray, they did a really, really lovely exploration of a lot of more of these details. So going into more detail about how to work and how to approach getting international work is there. So that is available for you to explore. You can find the replay on the website to and to add to your repertoire, your tool belt, your skills. And look, and Diana has it right there in the in the other thing. So we're going to thank you all. If anyone wants to stay, Yukiko, I think you should go to bed, but it's up to you. If anyone is interested in staying and doing a little more chatting and exchanging what we're talking a little bit more, stay on the line. Joshua will be breaking us out into breakout rooms. Before everyone goes, who's still here, whenever we gather at the dojo, we like to finish with what we call the dojo O, which is of all the things that we covered, choosing one that made you go oh or oh or oh. What was something that made you go oh, and how can you distill it into its most simple form? We'd love to, as you're leaving or waiting for the chat for the breakout rooms to emerge, would love to have you close with what your takeaway is for today, and guys, thank you so much. This is a vision, and then you all appeared to contribute to it. So thank you Dojo team. Thank you Dojo community for being here and for all of us being here together. If you are interested in talking about anything that we do at the Dojo, which is from I don't know to working pro, please go to the website www.thevodojo.com. If you'd like to do a 15-minute voiceover once-over with the Dojo, Diana is usually the first person that you'll talk to, and she can get a sense of where you're at and where you'd like to be and how we might be able to be a part of that. But thank you all, and we can pop through a couple of these Dojo O's and just focus on your core voice, your true self. Great. Tarot, worth Indian clients versus UK clients. The worth of, yeah. International VO marketing may be challenging, but oh, what an opportunity. Yes, Yvonne, fantastic. Cat, it's a cat. I want to party with Yukiko, infinite energy. And Kodimura, great talks, useful, good. Excellent. All right. Well, I think this is great. Fantastic. All right, Joshua, let's do it.